Well, you guys ask me all the time about ways that you can disciple your young children, and I want to tell you about something I found that I think you're going to love. I am always searching for curriculum that's theologically solid, rich in apologetics, and wait for it, easy to use. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about the Answers Bible curriculum for homeschool from my friends at Answers in Genesis. This amazing program covers the entire Bible in just 4 years, and it was created specifically for kindergartners through fifth graders to be taught at the same time, which is going to save you time and simplify your day. You guys are going to get quality that you expect from AIG, and it's deep, fun, packed with truth, and designed to equip your kids to defend the faith. If you're ready to try it, head on over to answersbiblecurriculum.com/Heidi and download a free lesson to get started. That's answersbiblecurriculum.com/Heidi. Hey everybody, this is Heidi St. John. Welcome to the Heidi St. John podcast. I'm glad you guys are here because one of my favorite people in the whole wide world, Dr. Mark Sherwood, is joining me on the show today. As you guys know, the Sherwoods and the Functional Medical Institute are the prime sponsor here at the Heidi St. John podcast, and we love taking your questions. There's a whole lot of them today, and Dr. Mark's here to answer them. Stick around. I think you're going to be encouraged. Shout out to our sponsor, the Functional Medical Institute. I love those guys. Check them out at homeschoolhealth.com and be sure and use the coupon code Heidi for 20% off your entire purchase. Well, thank you guys for tuning in today. As you can hear, I am having a little bit of a time with my voice. So thank you guys for bearing with me today with that. I know it's a little bit annoying. It's also annoying for yours truly. This is my very busy season. I'm out on the road right now. And if you want to find out where I'll be, you can go to HeidiSt.John.com/events. I will be on the road every weekend now through the end of June. And then, as you guys know, I have surgery scheduled the first week of July. So we are doing a lot of recording right now to sort of put podcasts in the hopper for when I'm down for the count. And Dr. Mark is helping me get these lined up, and we're going to keep serving you guys all throughout the summer. So thank you guys so much for listening. Dr. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me as always. And my wife passes on her regards to you today as well. So we're grateful to be a sponsor for your show. And most of all, we're grateful to be your friend. We don't take that for granted. So we really are honored to know you.
Well, the feeling is mutual. We love you guys. And everybody knows now, because it's out on social media, that you guys are walking through this colon thing with me. And I feel like I'm in really good hands. I think we're going to just see the Lord, moving on incredible ways in the days to come. So we love you guys and appreciate your wisdom so much. Do you want me to jump into Leah in Alaska?
Let's dive in. I can't think of a better state to start in right there.
All right. Dr. Mark, my 14-year-old daughter has recently developed a tic disorder and most likely has PANS or PANDAS. Do you have any recommendations on natural help for her? Thanks for all your encouragement.
Well, certainly. And thanks for Leah for asking the question. I know this must be a little struggle for you with your daughter's, going through these symptoms. But let's look at it like this. There are things that you can do to tone down any sort of PANS, PANDA, or even tic effects by thinking about the term inflammation. We talk about this a lot because it really does mean something. Inflammation, when it's acting normally, is awesome, but when it gets out of control, it becomes this trigger for different things that can set our immune system upside down. Inflammation is a hand in all of those three areas with the tics, the PANS, and the PANDAS. So what I'd like you to do is consider an anti-inflammatory food protocol, first of all. And this would mean things that, well, I appreciate this. Avoid the things that the government subsidizes. I know I'm pretty funny about that, but seriously, if you can begin to cut down processed foods, packaged foods, boxed foods, foods that have ultimate massive ingredients in them that you can't pronounce, that's going to be amazing. And then also look at the neurological thing of this. Bring in omega-3 fatty acids. I don't know, if you're doing that already or not, but 14 years old, she could have 2 to 3 grams of omega-3s immediately, and that would be helpful for the brain. I would also look at adaptogenic herbs such as rhodiola or ashwagandha as well to provide relaxation and calm, along with, as I stated, anti-inflammation action within the system.
I want to take a moment to say thank you to our sponsor today. Today's show is being sponsored in part by my friends at GiveSendGo. And it's a pretty amazing partnership because months ago, before I received my medical diagnosis, we had been hoping to partner with this amazing company. And I had no idea that I was going to be on the receiving end of a GiveSendGo campaign. But I can tell you it's been an incredible blessing for me. And I love what these guys are doing. They are really crowdfunding with a gospel message and sharing the light of Christ and helping us fulfill the mandate in Galatians 6:2, where we are really commanded to bear one another's burdens and in so doing fulfill the law of Christ. One of the things that's awesome about GiveSendGo is that they have a prayer team that you can join and pray for the campaigns that you see online. So even if you can't give right now, you can pray. There is power in your prayers, and I love what the Lord is doing through the platform at GiveSendGo. Check them out at GiveSendGo.com. Mark, you just mentioned ashwagandha and the adaptogenic herbs that we've talked about quite a bit here at the show. I had a friend ask me just last week, kind of in a follow-up to this, how many times a day could you take ashwagandha? And she had a functional medicine doctor tell her to, because she struggles with, just trying to kind of quiet her brain, and she has a little bit of, I'd say, low-level anxiety. And he was telling her, take one in the morning, and then one in the evening. And she said it had made a big difference. And I thought, I'm going to ask Dr. Mark what he thinks about that. What do you think about kind of taking ashwagandha every day for people who are struggling with this kind of thing, kind of a morning and an evening routine?
I like it because one of the things that people need to know about these adaptogenic herbs, Heidi, is they don't necessarily stimulate, and they certainly don't depress. They provide balance to the system. And I like that term, balance or harmony or sort of peace, if you will. And so I've taken myself between 200 and 800 milligrams personally a day before with no issues. On my desk right now in my office where I am, I actually have a bottle of ashwagandha right over there that I take occasionally if I'm feeling that little angst, if you will, that we can all have. You get kind of overwhelmed or something with life itself, and that doesn't mean you're a bad person. That doesn't mean you've got a disease or a disorder. It means that you're getting overwhelmed with life. And so these plants can provide a lot of healing in your life, and I use them a lot.
Yeah, I do too. I'm a super fan of ashwagandha. It's made a huge difference for sure in my life, just in managing stress. Absolutely, for sure. Maggie in Florida, what supplements can you take for major depression and anxiety? I've had depression and anxiety for 38 years. On and off antidepressants for 30 of those 38 years. I'm tired of the side effects, but I know I need help. Wow.
Well, Maggie, there is hope out there. So I want to start with giving you hope so that when you embrace that and ingest that hope, you can become a hope dealer when you're better. All right? Deal? So, Maggie, here's the thing. There's a lot of things you can do. I don't know where you are on the scale of, menopause. You don't know your age. You've been dealing with this a long, long time, but here's the situation. Hormones do have a very key component to depression and low mood. When hormones go low, you will go low. So there's that. There's also vitamin D. A good way to remember D is low D, high depression. So think about that. Magnesium is a big one because we are typically deficient in that mineral magnesium, and I like taking that. Lest I also forget to mention what I mentioned in the last question, ashwagandha. That's an amazing one to think about easing down the tension, if you will. Theanine is another one. There's a bunch of things you can do to get this fixed. But one thing, Maggie, I want you to know is this. You were not born with a medication or antidepressant deficiency. Are those things helpful sometimes? Of course they are. They're helpful from the standpoint as if the train's going off the track, getting ready to go off the cliff, I want everything I can to throw it at it and stop it. But there needs to be an exit strategy. And so I encourage you to look at all angles, as I just talked about, to work to get yourself off medications if you're on that right now. But don't go cold turkey because it can make it worse. But work to titrate that schedule off as time allows and as occurrence allows. And then use these strategies I talked about to correct the problem from an underlying standpoint.
She's really making a good point about the side effects of these. I don't care if it's Prozac or, all of them, Xanax, they all have side effects. Most of the people that listen to the show know that I did an anti-anxiety medication for 30 years. And no one ever told me, none of my doctors ever said, hey, this could be addictive, or hey, this was you're only meant to be on this for 6 months, not 30 years. And I think a lot of people feel like they're just trapped in this cycle, and that's what they have to do. But the truth is, there's a lot of other things. I mean, when I got off of that medication, I did it with the help of, ashwagandha and some cortisol management and essential oils and all of those things. And I love that you've said there's hope out there. And hopefully, when Maggie gets through this, she's going to become a hope dealer like you are.
Just to point out this, I find it fascinating because one of the key commonalities I see with antidepressant usage over time, especially in ladies, is I see weight gain. Mm-hmm. And when you start gaining weight and maintaining the weight gain, that makes you depressed in itself. So it's almost a feed backward cycle. And I think that there's better ways. So Maggie, your better day is coming.
I love it. I love it. Hang in there, Maggie. April in Virginia, in the great state of Virginia, she's almost 45 and she wants to have another baby. I also am a vegetarian. What foods or supplements do you recommend I take to help my body prepare for my next baby?
April, you've got to have those B vitamins up there. One thing that I've seen about people that choose to eat vegetarian is this. Sometimes they can be deficient in some iron and even some B vitamins. I also see them a little bit deficient from time to time in omega-3s. So I encourage you, above all things, get those omega-3s in there, get those B vitamins in there, specifically methylated B vitamins. I'm talking methylated folate and methylated B12 because those will make sure that you have good, baby development inside of you during the course of the time. So set yourself up for success. And then I think at this stage of the game, too, make sure you've got adequacy of progesterone and even adequate thyroid function.
Interesting that she mentioned that she is that she's a vegetarian. I was just hanging out with a mutual friend of ours, Mark, when I was in Nashville, and he was recommending to me, because we were talking about, what I'm going through and, tumors and how do you shrink tumors and all these things. And he had several friends that had gone through sort of similar things and went on the carnivore diet. And he said he was doing that himself. He said he's never felt better. His joints don't hurt. He said, like, for the first time in 100 years, his joints don't hurt. So it's like grass-fed, eggs and, really, organic beef, all those kinds of things. What do you think, my friend, about the carnivore diet? Because I'm kind of thinking about doing it.
Well, it's fascinating because I'm pretty good friends with the main physician that pushes that. So
really,
I was talking to him just last week, a good guy. So here's a couple of things to keep in mind. One thing about the carnivore diet that I wrestle with and we use a lot of it here. We use it to correct things a lot because I find that there's less problems that are generated from going all carnivore compared to problems that are generated by not. So let's just kind of marinate in what I just talked about, right? Going carnivore is going to eliminate what I know causes problems, which is going to be the standard American Western diet. Most processed foods are not. So the thing I wrestle with that, Heidi, is that I have a hard time reconciling all meat, no plants, when we talk about in the Bible, in Genesis 1 and Revelation 24, the tree of life, So I have a hard time with that one, and I can't in my own life not eat some plants based upon that. But I fully have used the carnivore diet. My wife and I both have. We've done it on ourselves. We've done it for like 30 days. We've done it for 2 weeks. And I will tell you, we have also had some very good results with it. And with that said, we have not seen labs get worse, but we've seen labs get better. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's because of just the carnivore pulling out the things that we know can cause us problems, but I also know that I get good results from it. So I cannot argue with success. And so I am a proponent of that at this point, and we've used it, even though you look at things like when you have a tumor or something like that, they'll always tell you, well, don't do things to make it grow. And we know proteins have amino acids that create a growth process. So again, I think we have to question everything we think we know at this point,
Boy,
because
sure,
the
true.
medical system is so broken in the results that we have derived from it. Therefore, what we're doing is not working. So if what you're doing is not working, what you think you're doing is based upon good science, it makes me want to question what we think is science at that point.
Yeah, I agree. And we're having, lots of conversations at my house just around, the medical community. As when I announced on my show that I'm, battling this, ridiculous thing in my colon, just saying that we have a tendency in the country, and like you guys rightly pointed out, it's one of the reasons that I was so drawn to you in the first place. I mean, well, I was drawn to you because of politics, as you're such a fighter, and I love that so much. But after I found out that you guys were into functional medicine, the thing I love about it so much is that you're able to blend the best of Western medicine and the best of Eastern medicine, because if we want people to get better, we can't throw either one of those things out. And that's, I think the danger in the completely holistic approach to everything is you throw the baby out with the bathwater, and the holistic approach won't talk to the traditional approach, and the traditional approach won't talk to the holistic approach. And you've got people who are literally sick and dying in the middle who need both of those superpowers, if you will, to sort of come together and help help people get better again.
I think there's two things to consider here, and I want people to please hear my heart, and I'm speaking on behalf of my wife with this. When we look at holistic, for us, holistic is look at the holistic portion of the information, which includes all knowledge, all information that you think you know. So that means all that you know about Eastern Western medicine concepts, what you know about biology, what you know about anatomy, what you know about common sense, what you know about just simple, anecdotal evidence you see in your clinic or what you do, right? And then the second part of this is, how can one utilize knowledge correctly without wisdom? And so that's my prayer every day, and I'm not putting attention on myself here, but that should be everybody's prayer, because God tells us to ask for wisdom. And we cannot understand the application of or understand knowledge at all if we don't have wisdom. So I think you got to have both, right? And I appreciate what you said, and I hope people will take a fresh look at that internally and begin to allow the true healing that's out there, because everything that's been thought of came from mankind, who's God's favorite creation. So, I mean, there's a lot there to what I just said.
Yeah, it's really true. And I think, I'm hearing, as you can imagine, from people out on the road who, ask, how is it that people like Dorinda Wilson, some of these people, Mark, that are getting sick, they're like the OG homeschool moms who've been, they're living like low toxin lifestyles. They're making their own homemade bone broth and grinding their own wheat. They're not living sedentary lifestyles, and they're winding up with, weird colon cancers and all kinds of crazy things. And to me, it's got to be at least partly environmental. I mean, something is happening in our world that we don't quite understand, or we would have had a handle on this by now.
It is environmental, Heidi. We live in a country that allows things to be infected and ingested by our people that are not even looked at as halfway safe by other countries. And I look at that and I'm shocked. And you mentioned I'm a fighter. It frankly aggravates me that we allow that. And I blame our government. I really do. Yeah. It's like we have transferred our power of the people to the federal government. So now we become a federal government that controls its people. And that's not what it should be about. We, the people, need to come back. And even we're talking about health, people need to get back and look themselves in the mirror and go, you know what? It's my responsibility. And I need to get a community that really understands that. And I need to look for every way to eliminate my exposure to all these toxins and pollutants that are persistent around our world and in our environment.
Yeah, it's really, and it's hard to do it. It's no joke, and it's kind of discouraging, man. I told you guys, I had long conversation with you and Michelle, so not to belabor it here at the show, but it really is discouraging for me. When we feel like we're doing everything we can, and then there's a point in which you have to say, okay, Lord, you're writing my story, right? And I think people need to hear that. Like, God writes He's writing our story. And just like you and I talked about in COVID, remember all the months that we were dealing with the questions from listeners and everyone's afraid and we're living in this constant state of fear and panic and dread and worry and all the what ifs. And I was always telling people, it doesn't matter if it's COVID or cancer or a car accident. Apart from, the Lord returning, every single one of us has an expiration date, and every single one of us is going to go home to be with the Lord. And either we believe that our days are numbered and God's going to take us home in his timing, or we don't believe it. And when stuff like this happens, it really gives you a chance to sort of step back and say, all right, Lord, I did my part, or I thought I did, at least I was trying. And now I recognize you have to do, this is really in your hands. And I think when we leave it in his hands, then the fear tends to lessen.
Well, everybody's story has multiple chapters, and some chapters may be more suspenseful than others. Some chapters may have some pitfalls. Sometimes they may have setbacks, but the story is the book, not the chapter. And so I think there's a lot we have to learn from the wisdom in what you just said within life. I mean, our jobs are to do what we're called to do, to control what we're called to control, and to have the understanding to understand what we can't control, and let it go. And I think that's the challenging portion that we have to deal with as humans today.
Yeah, it's really true. You guys know how passionate I am to see parents discipling their children in the Bible. And while it doesn't have to be complicated, it does have to be intentional. That's why I'm excited to introduce you guys to the Illuminate Bible series from my friends at Lifestone Ministries. This is a Bible curriculum that's designed to grow with your child from first grade all the way through high school. So whether your child is just starting to read or asking deeper questions about faith and culture, Illuminate meets them right where they are and helps them build a lasting relationship with Jesus. Each week, you'll walk through a simple 5-step approach. You'll look at a Bible story, check out the context around it, see how it connects to the rest of Scripture, study the theology behind it, and find out what it means for real life. It's designed for families, so you don't need 5 different books for 5 different kids. You can go through it together using workbooks tailored to the ages of your kids. So if you've been looking for a way to disciple your kids without adding more stress to your day, this is it. For more information, visit lifestoneministries.com/Heidi to learn more about this amazing homeschooling tool. Sounds like Brittany in Pennsylvania is dealing with this in a little bit different way. She says, hey, Dr. Mark, we live a low toxin life, limit sugar, processed food, no gummies. Brittany, what is a life without gummies? This is now you've just crossed over into boring. Come on. My boys brush and use water pick twice a day, and they brush with what's this word? Hydroxyapatite?
Hydroxyapatite. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Toothpaste. So weird toothpaste. They're still getting cavities. Okay, Brittany, listen, you don't need Dr. Mark. You just need me for this. That's sin, honey. That's just sin. Okay, anyway, they're still getting cavities. The dentist wants to put sealants in, which have fluoride in them. They don't get fluoride anywhere. And I'm wondering if the sealants would be good to do. Boy, all my kids got sealants, Mark, and it saved their teeth. Because for whatever reason, like my son Spencer, for sure, when he was about, 10 years old, 8, 9, 10, somewhere in there, he was just, it was cavity after cavity after cavity. And our dentist, who's a super wonderful Christian man, by the way, if you guys live in Vancouver Pediatric Dentistry, Dr. Lubasich, I cannot recommend him highly enough. Loves the Lord. Gave all my kids sealants, saved their teeth. That's my plug.
No, I think you're right. A lot of people, it's like you said, there's something that goes out there and it becomes like the demon. Fluoride's bad, fluoride's bad, fluoride's bad. But honestly, fluoride was put in the water for a situation just like you just described. Now, I get it that too much fluoride in different situations can become a neurotoxin. I totally I'm totally on with that. But remember, our bodies are toxic anyway by a lot of different things. So I'm a big believer in the accumulative effect. So you take a little bit here and a little bit here, a little bit here, and we want to blame it on one thing, but it's really all things. And so I think we need to look at that. Now, if again, Brittany, if you're looking at staying away from fluoride, and you want to honor your convictions, fine. You can look at like calcium phosphate. There's some sealants out there that have that. There's some silica-based sealants out there as well. You can even use some ozone therapy. Sometimes that can help. So those 3 ways that you can kind of offset that. But I, like Heidi, believe that a little bit of fluoride sealants that have been proven to help prevent cavities in your children, a little bit might not be a bad thing. So all I'm saying is with this one is consider with an open mind as God directs what of those therapies you might see best for your family.
Yeah, and you know what? For sure, what's bad? A mouthful of cavities.
Yeah, that's bad. That's not a good.
That's bad. That's bad. All right, Anonymous in San Diego. By the way, Brittany, thanks for your question. She says her daughter has a rare genetic disorder called Russell-Silver syndrome, which has symptoms like low appetite, adult dwarfism, boy, say that 5 times fast, low blood sugar, and other things. And she says her daughter's doing great, but she's small and she has a very low appetite. Doctors have recommended, Mark, I'm not a doctor. I'm just trying to play one on my podcast today. I don't even know what these words mean. I can't even pronounce them. Can you see what she said? Doctors are recommending
cryoheptadine.
What is it?
Ciproheptadine is what they're recommending there for appetite stimulation. And kind of the reason for this thing is with Russell-Silver syndrome is she's not producing growth hormone. That's the issue, right? And so I can see why she's, concerned about that. So you can continue on with the question, though.
Yeah, so she's saying, should we start the growth hormone shots daily for her? Or do you think this is going to be an overall negative impact? Her main concern is if the growth hormone shots would cause potentially early puberty. With dwarfism, the main concerns are her confidence and ability to carry children. If it can't be fixed by growth hormone therapy, I'm leaning toward doing it. If it can be fixed, rather.
Well, it can be helped. So with that said, Anonymous, it can be helped with growth hormone. Thinking about this from the standpoint, growth hormone is a normal produced hormone from the pituitary gland in the human body. So having said that, we need it, right? And when you don't have it, you don't grow sufficiently in sort of this expectation mode. So, it can be a good thing. A little bit of growth hormone we've seen is not a bad thing in this. So I would trust your instincts in this one, and it sounds like your instincts are leaning that way. Again, it's hard to say if I were in your shoes, I'm not even going to do that because that's not fair and it's not right. But I would say growth hormone would be a good consideration for this because it will improve appetite, it will improve growth, and it probably would indeed promote confidence.
All right, that's great. I love these questions. If you guys want to ask Dr. Mark a question, and you're so good at doing it, there's a whole bunch of you in the hopper still. You can reach out to me, HeidiSt.John.com/Mailbox Monday. You can see Dr. Mark right there drinking his hydrogen water. Mine is up next to my bed because that's what I do right before I go to bed at night. And that's the last thing I do at night. First thing I do in the morning is my hydrogen bottle. I need to get another one, so I just have it here. That's what I need to do. So then I've got one in my studio and one at home. Yeah, send me one. I love that water bottle. I take it to restaurants with me and people are like, dude, what are you doing to your water? Yeah, I'm like the Functional Medical Institute ambassador when I go out to eat. It's great.
It's such a good therapy. It supercharges your water to reduce inflammation. I don't know anything else in life that does that, man.
No, it's amazing. It's really amazing. Anonymous in Minnesota has a daughter with she has got HPV with pre-cancer. Doctor recommends a LEAP procedure, or she can wait for 6 months. Anything that she can do while waiting 6 months so that she gets a better outcome. So first of all, Dr. Mark, go ahead and explain the LEAP procedure because that's it's outpatient, right? Where they take like a wire hook and they remove abnormal cells from your cervix, correct? It's like a heated wire loop and it excises the tissue.
Yeah, they use a wire. It's called a loop, electrosurgical excision procedure, LEAP. And so they loop it in there and they can loop and pull those cancer cells out of there like that. It's a pretty interesting procedure and it's successful. In the meantime, while you're waiting for that, there's a lot of things you can do. You can sort of, as you hear me talk about broken record, clean up the diet, anti-inflammatory eating, that's also really, really good. Look at probiotics for sure, get the gut healthy and things like that. Because what is it that can create a viral load that gets going rogue and goes too far? Well, it's when the immune system's not able to keep up with it. So what can you do to strengthen your immune system? You can get some exercise, right? You can work on getting sleep. You can work on active de-stressing. Those four things right there are going to be absolutely awesome things to do in the meantime. And then don't be scared of that LEAP procedure. That's going to be okay. They do that all the time. They're very good at it right now.
That's what I would say too. Listen, one of my sisters had a cervical cancer scare, and it was pretty serious. And she's gone in for those procedures several times, and she's doing fine today. And so, boy, you guys, I mean, honestly, you know what, Dr. Mark, since I talked about my colonoscopy, by the way, I'm going to be the new poster girl for get your colonoscopy, you guys. I mean, come on. It was the best nap of my life. Everyone should do it. And I have already met, Mark, several people who, since hearing the podcast and me talk about that, have gone in to get colonoscopies. And the last one I heard about was just recently. A friend of mine whose husband was like, dude, I knew it, like this little voice in my head, I was supposed to do it. And he had a 14 millimeter mass in his colon, and they were able to take it out. Because if you go in early enough and they find these, these polyps and these masses in your colon, they're able to take it out. They can't take mine out because mine, unfortunately, is 40 millimeters. So mine is huge. Yeah, mine's huge, which is why I have to have surgery. But I'm telling you guys, I mean, you heard Doctors Mark and Michelle say this. You guys don't keep guessing on this stuff. Get tested. Don't guess, test. And I love that. And I'm just praying that more and more people will start listening for that. So this LEAP procedure, all of it, boy, you guys, I mean, an ounce of prevention worth more than a pound of cure. So, so important. Anonymous in Alabama, I'd like to ask Dr. Mark about testosterone therapy. I'm a 48-year-old woman who had a hysterectomy. I'm on bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. I take estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone. I've mentioned to my 52-year-old husband that he might benefit from testosterone. He's pretty tired, sleeps a lot, low energy, and not a very high sex drive. He's adamantly against testosterone therapy for men and says he have to take it forever. He mentions so many negatives, says his body will stop making testosterone if he does that. Do you have anything positive to say that might change his mind? Dude, all you'd have to do to my husband is say better sex life, and that would do it.
Well, I think the sex life reason is motivation enough, but
I think so.
A couple more to this, right? So here's the thing. A lot of men make the statement that if you take it, your body will stop producing it. But your body's already stopping producing it. Mm-hmm. So there's something called andropause. And if you can see my hand, I'm going to sort of go down in a slant from my left to my right. And that's the slant that your production of testosterone takes as you age. So that negative downturn slant probably starts about 40 years of age, sometimes before, and it goes down and it doesn't come up. And I suppose it's because of toxic load in our world, because of stress, because of poor eating, the whole bit. But when you take testosterone, it fills in the gap above that to bring it back to numbers that are, get this, protective against brain, bone, heart disease, and also I would say protective against inflammation because you can actually maintain muscle mass and lose body fat. It can help with libido as well, with frequency of erections and even urgencies for reproduction, i.e. libido. So this is something that we get to take the rest of our life if we choose to. So I'm changing the words of that around a little bit. I have nothing but positive to say about it based upon the last 20 some odd years of experience along with my wife. The data backs it up now. I was reading a study recently for you, Anonymous in Alabama, for your husband specifically, that people, both men and women, with adequate testosterone availability actually live longer. I don't know how much more compelling of a study you can get than that.
Live longer, better sex, get testosterone.
Come on, man. That should be a commercial on TV for somebody.
Come on. I think so. Also, I mean, it's worth noting, you prescribed testosterone for me. So I had my hormones checked through Dr. Mark and Michelle's Functional Medical Institute. It's been several years now, and it was game-changing for me. I was shocked to see that it was low and shocked to know that women even had testosterone in their system or were supposed to. I didn't know that. And since I've been on the road, I've sort of quit. I mean, I know Dr. Mark is like, what? You're still taking that, right? And I was like, no, actually, I got a lot going on right now, but I'm having my brain fog is back. Thank you. My brain fog is back. And, and he was like, are you did you stop taking the testosterone cream? I was like, yep, I did. Yep, I did. So it's kind of a big deal. It's a game changer, even for women, right?
It is. Look at your hormones, and I'm talking all of them: progesterone, testosterone, estradiol, insulin, cortisol, all of them. It's like your brain would be the CEO of your organization, and the systems of your body would be the sections or divisions of your organization. So hormones are emails that connect the brain to the divisions to do the work of the system. So if you get older and don't have the adequacy of hormones from the experience of menopause or surgical menopause, being hysterectomy, etc., or andropause in men, you're going to lose communication in your body between your brain and your systems. And again, I use that business analogy. If the CEO cannot communicate with the divisions of the company and the CEO are going to be disconnected, and that is equivalent to increased dis-ease within the organization or the body.
Yes. And so to put it in normal people speak, it's the Biden administration for the last 4 years, right? The CEO disconnected, can't reach out to all the people he's supposed to be working with. And so what do? You get dis-ease.
Yeah, that's right. Good.
Right?
The government needs hormones, no question.
Government needs hormones. Mark, you and I we're helping a lot of people today.
I know. If we could get Congress and Senate, along with the executive function, and even the courts, to get on hormones, I'm telling you right now, we would have a better government.
Come on. I mean, I can think of some blue hairs who absolutely need a little bit of hormone therapy. Oh, my goodness. Okay. Anonymous in Arizona. Dr. Mark, I was GBS positive. That's group B strep. Yeah.
Correct.
With my first pregnancy, and I was surprised. I was given antibiotics during my labor. I'm pregnant again, GBS positive in my urine. At the first visit, I was prescribed antibiotics again. Is there anything natural that I can do to treat and prevent this? I don't want to take more antibiotics, but my doctor doesn't seem concerned at all.
Yeah, there's a lot of things you can do. Obviously, it's fairly common, and if you get that, the correct treatment is antibiotics because you don't want to spread that, of course, to the baby. Having said that, think about things like probiotics and even antimicrobials such as oregano or such as garlic. Things like that work really, really well. You can get those things in little gel caps, and so they work really nice. And then make sure your diet is clean, your gut health is good. And I think it goes right back to the same beat on that drum is make sure that you're doing anti-inflammatory foods, getting plenty of rest, etc. You also want to make sure that you're having plenty of hydration. Make sure your body's really detoxified well, and that will help you a lot. But there's a lot of things you can do that I name right there for you that'd be good preventions for that.
Today's podcast is being sponsored in part by my friends at Brave Books. The screen time that we let our children and grandchildren enjoy is actively shaping their character and their values. But finding wholesome screen time that actually builds character and reinforces our family's values is getting harder every day. That's why I am stoked to introduce you guys to Brave Plus. It's a new streaming platform from my friends at Brave Books. It's packed with shows that have been carefully vetted by real parents to make sure that every show is safe, faith-filled, and developmentally healthy. At Brave Books, you're going to find trusted favorites like Bob the Builder and Strawberry Shortcake, plus brand new originals like Iggy and Mr. Kirk, a Mr. Rogers style show that teaches biblical values and sparks imagination, starring my good friend Kirk Cameron. There are no ads and no overstimulating shows, just good, godly stories that your kids are going to love. So if you're looking for screen time you can feel good about, subscribe to Brave Plus today by going to HeidiBrave.com. That's HEIDI Brave.com. I've run into lots of women. Women love to talk about their birth stories. If I had a nickel for every mom who said, I couldn't believe it. I went in and I was group B positive, strep. And she was like, am I doing something wrong? Can you clear this up? If a mom finds out, oh my goodness, you're positive for group B strep, it doesn't mean she done anything wrong, right? This is not a sexually transmitted disease, right?
It does not mean you did anything wrong. It's not sexually transmitted. Look, there's a lot of bacteria in that part of the body, ladies. And just know there's a lot of stuff going on there. It's not unusual to have this. It's common. If you have it once, there's a good chance you'll have it again. I'm not speaking that on you, so don't take that the wrong way. So no, it's not translated by some sexual transmission of disease process at all. It just happens.
Good. Kaylee in Missouri. Dr. Mark, are green powders beneficial or are they just a fad? This is a great question. I've contemplated adding them to my routine, but I'm not sure if it's worth the money. If so, what do I look for? And went, man, Dr. Mark, there are so many supplements out there now. You can lose your mind wading through all the supplements that every time we get on social media, it's another supplement, another thing, and it's green tea powder and matcha and this and that. What's your take?
Well, you can lose your mind and you can also lose your credit too. I mean, you can do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, your bank account. Bye-bye.
Tens of billions of dollar industry and growing exponentially by the hour. It's that way. Marketers have figured out that the FOMO marketing tactic that's the same used in big pharma works in that too. They'll say, if you don't take this, you will. If you don't take this, you won't. And it's that FOMO marketing, and you start buying it. And then you get TV doctors out there, TV clinicians that don't sell anything, or they don't treat anybody, but they sell everything. And then they got celebrity endorsements, which can be paid for something that they don't even use themselves. So it is quite confusing. And so, Kaylee, my advice to you is this. When you look at green powders, remember, phytonutrients from plants, personally, I believe are part of the processes that our body needs to have to work. So I think they're good. But having said that, just because you get a green powder, you always want to look at probably the individual ingredients. So I'll give you a couple little tips here. So if you see something that says proprietary blend, and it has all these different plants or plant parts listed without the specific amounts of each listed, well, that to me is going to be categorized, at least in my world, as an inferior product compared to a product that would have X number of micrograms of all these things noted individually. So there's that kind of thing. Then you also want to look for organic or non-GMO. That's a big deal too. Green powders can also be sweetened or unsweetened. Some of the things you want to watch out with that too is some of them will say natural sugars. I'm not sure what that is, but some of them are sweetened with cane sugar. That is far, far better, I suppose, than things like aspartame or sucralose or high fructose or fructose corn syrup, right? And then some of them now are sweetened with stevias or monk fruit and things like that, which are probably okay. It is all over the roadmap. Allulose is a good one out there. It's all over the roadmap, but I do sometimes use green powders on top of, personally, I put green powders and red powders into the Kingdom Fuel blend that we made. I did that for a reason, because I wanted to cut down on the confusion and make sure I got in there what I needed to get in there. So, but I'm a big believer in the phytonutrients there, Kaylee. But boy, I tell you what, there's a lot of things out there that you can buy and waste your money on.
Boy, you're right. I mean, it just seems like it's growing by the day. When you say Kingdom Fuel, fill us in on this. Is that like a meal replacement drink, or what is that?
Yeah, Kingdom Fuel was kind of the first proprietary, kind of our little flagship product we did years ago. When COVID came upon us, people were saying you're going to run out of food. I think people remember that, right? And so I was like, no, you're not.
How could we forget?
Over my dead body, I'm going to come up with something that's going to work great. And I was really on a probably a warpath, probably a little too passionate at the time about some of the survival kits that were being sold that were nothing but processed foods. And it got me, because patriots were buying that. And I was like, something's wrong with this, man. So we went on a lookout to buy a lot of organic materials. We bought organic pea protein materials. We bought organic greens and reds powder, fibers, both soluble and insoluble, and then vitamins and minerals, and put them all together in this thing we called Kingdom Fuel. And it was a whole meal. And it was like 1 to 3 scoops a day. 3 scoops is about $5 per meal. 2 scoops was like $3.50 per meal. And then 1 scoop was like $2 per meal. And it really just took off. And I think that it gave people an opportunity to have something that was going to be lasting and was sustainable. The canisters would be lasting 2 years without being opened. That's a long shelf life. And so that's why we did it. That's what's in it. And we still, see a lot of it distributed out there.
Yep, I love it. Kingdom Fuel. I've got some in my house, and it tastes good too. I think it's worth saying. Jen in Tennessee, she wants to know your thoughts on methylene blue. Do you recommend it for improving cellular function? If so, which one?
Methylene blue is kind of a new kid on the block in regard to mitochondrial optimization. Now, for those of you that go, what did he just say? The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. So mitochondria produce ATP, which is like cellular gasoline, in this case, cellular energy. Methylene blue has been studied to upregulate the energy production and health of the mitochondria. Now, is it a dye and is it blue? Yes. Can it be toxic? Yes. There's a lot of that's available out there on the web right now, and most of it is a liquid. I personally have used methylene blue, and we've seen good results with methylene blue, but it has to be up to, get this folks, 20 to 100 milligrams a day. To get that level and that load, we've had to get it compounded. We've not been able to get that load with the liquids on the market out there. I've tried to do liquids, and I poured about a half bottle into my little water one day, my hydrogen water. And yes, it does turn your tongue and lips blue. So just prepare for that. You're not losing oxygen. You just have the Smurf lips and Smurf tongue. And so it does work, I suppose. We've used it for post-COVID people before, long-haul COVID people, along with some hydrogen and IVs, and we've got some good results from it.
Do you feel like this is something, though, that people need to be doing every day? Or do you think, no, this is for certain instances, like let's say that you're recovering from a sickness, like recovering from COVID or something like that? Or do you think, no, this is probably good? You just add it in like you do your vitamin D. Now we're taking some methylene blue.
I like to do it in a pulsed manner. So I'll do it 2 or 3 times a week. And I have no studies that say that's best. I'm just using my intuition here because I know that methylene blue is not a quote unquote natural product you can pull off the tree or out of the ground or go hunting and shoot it or go fishing and catch it. So I know it's something, and it probably has some good beneficial effects. We have used it daily in those acute situations like you just talked about, like a post-COVID or recovery of something like that, right? But on a normal, just proactive basis, I would recommend somewhere between 2 and 4 times a week if you want to go that direction.
All right. Last 2 questions have to do with yeast in the body. This Dr. Mark says, is there a supplement I can take or foods I can eliminate from my diet that would reduce the amount of yeast that my body produces? I'm a 45-year-old female, been going to the same dermatologist since high school. And since high school, she's been telling me that my skin is very yeasty. Every year it gets worse. I use dandruff shampoo and a body wash that helps. I'm very itchy. I've got rashes. Zinc helps temporarily. I hardly ever eat refined sugar, rarely drink alcohol, consume a generally healthy diet. Vaginal yeast infections are not an issue. She's taken a bunch of stuff, turmeric, vitamin D with K12, trace mineral support, hasn't been on antibiotics since early 2019, but she has this problem. The next person's from British Columbia. 4 months postpartum with her 6th child. Boy, congratulations. She's been dealing with food allergies with several symptoms recently, including yeast, to the point now where she can only eat meat without major side effects. Sounds like she's gone carnivore by accident, right? So what do you say?
Well, when you look at yeast, once it gets infested in the body, you're looking at a situation where anything that converts to sugar can feed it. And it can be more severe even with not just refined sugars, but all sugars, really. So you got to really pay attention to that. And even sometimes you got to pay attention to fruit as well for a time. Again, with the one in British Columbia, Anonymous, there's other things going on at this point with the numerous food sensitivities you got going on. Your body's obviously turning on itself. 2 things on each of these that I want you to examine is mold exposure. I've seen this time and time again where we think that the yeast is only because of a dietary thing or a dietary intake, and we can't fix it by removing those things that feed yeast. Typically, I find that mold's involved too. Mold exposure and mold toxicity is super common today. I'm seeing it more today than I've seen in the last 15 years, and I suppose it's because of maybe lack of or the lessened detoxification abilities of our body, and probably the toxic load we have in our society.
All right. Well, it seems to me that, the more we get questions like this and the more I see, I'm looking at some of the questions that we'll be dealing with the next time you're on. People are, they're getting a lot of help from you, my friend. And I love the questions that are coming in because we're covering all different kinds of topics here. And your willingness to jump right in and help people where they are is such an encouragement for me. I have one other question that I'm going to ask you about, and it's not on the list, but it sort of came up because we've talked about sugar a couple of times today. People talking about, sugar substitutes. What are the ones that you recommend? You wouldn't recommend sucralose, right? Certainly not sweet and low, like bad for you. But what about allulose and monk fruit and people trying to cut sugar out of their diet, but they're looking for a sweetener?
Allulose, monk fruit, lo wong is another one that's outstanding. Even stevia to a point. Natural stevia leaf is good. These are great. People should not fail to use those because of fear, whatever, bad publicity. These sugar substitutes are sweeteners that have been confirmed as to not be things that raise blood sugar in a massive manner. And that's good, right? So remember, if you're trying to break the habit of that sweet, that dopaminergic crave, use these things. It's awesome. I've had people go to one of those sweeteners you just mentioned in their coffee. They removed all that, 2 tablespoons of sugar they were doing. And they started putting those things in there. And it turns out it took them a few weeks and they like it better. And guess what happens? They can still have that coffee and not have the process mess that makes it a bad thing. And so I watched this occur with baked goods, sweets over and over again, with shakes. A lot of the shakes now are being flavored with that stuff, and it's great. These are things that people should be using, and I wholeheartedly recommend those.
Good. I love that. We are out of time for today. Dr. Mark Sherwood, you are a national treasure. Thank you for coming on the show. Look, my voice, it's not great, but it held up.
I did good. I think you did outstanding, and I think people probably paid attention more today because you got that nice little raspy tone. It probably think, what's that? And it probably drew them in a little more. So I'm going to take the positive side of that.
There you go. A positive. There's nothing like the positive side of a raspy voice. I like that. Thank you so much, my friend, for coming on. People are interested in finding you, and I hope they are. Where should they go?
Go to Homeschool Health. It's interesting when all your favorite stuff is there, and we're just honored to be a part of what you do in your ministry, and people need to know to go to Homeschool Health, and that helps with the whole process of what we're all trying to do, and you can rest assured that we're going to give you our best in that with everything we do, and we're not going to recommend anything to you or anybody else that we're not doing ourselves.
Boy, that's true, and I love it, and it's interesting, you and I we're taking our relationship to a whole new level with this thing I got going on. So, we're just jumping right off you guys should probably fly out here in July. That's going to be, that'll be the thing. Yeah.
Hey, that's a great idea. We could be with you in that recovery. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, we should definitely talk about that.
Yes.
I would love that. Dr. Mark Sherwood, I love you. Please say hi to Dr. Michelle for me. You guys are amazing, and I just feel so honored to have you partnering with me, having become the prime sponsors of the show here and helping me get this show out to tens of thousands of people. So thank you, and I know you're blessing a lot of people, so I appreciate you so much.
Well, we love you guys as well from the deepest of our hearts, and just thank you so much for allowing us that opportunity, and best days ahead for you, my friend.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you so much. All right, you guys, we're out of time for today. You know the drill. If you have a question you would like my friend Dr. Mark Sherwood to address, shoot it to me, HeidiSt.com/Mailbox Monday. Remember to keep those questions short and sweet and to the point, and we'll get to them just as soon as we can. We love you guys. Get off the bench, get onto the battlefield, and I'll see you right back here again at the intersection of faith and culture. Parents of teens, listen up, because I have found an awesome Bible discipleship program that I think you're going to love. If you want your teens to own their faith instead of just regurgitating Bible facts, you need to know about RVL Discipleship, the curriculum. It's a powerful new curriculum that's been designed for homeschooled teens from our friends at Focus on the Family. Each lesson is taught by awesome Bible teacher Ray Vanderlyn. His semester-long course takes teens beyond fill-in-the-blank lessons to real-life application, helping them live out their faith with boldness and purpose. RVL curriculum is flexible, parent-friendly, and deeply engaging because it's been designed to spark real conversations about faith between you and your teens. Right now, you guys can get 2 free sample lessons at rvlcurriculum.com/HSJ, plus 10% off when you purchase the curriculum with code Heidi10. You guys, discipleship matters. Let's raise our kids to become lifelong disciples of Jesus. Go to rvlcurriculum.com/HSJ today.